We are here in Mountain View, and do you know who I'm interviewing today? It's the CEO and co-founder of DataPelago. I'm gonna be chatting a lot, so let's do this.
Okay, let's go.
I think he's already here, so let's see. Yes, he's here, Rajan.
Hello.
Hi, Rajan.
Hey, Ravit, how are you?
Very well.
Welcome to DataPelago.
Thank you. This is amazing. I love it. First of all, thanks for inviting us here. Looks like it's a data party between us today. What is this about?
Well, we'll talk about all this. Why don't you come over here?
Let's go. I'm excited.
This is the rainy day.
I picked a rainy day for sure.
Welcome to our office.
Love this. Okay, we are here. Rajan, thanks for inviting us. It's a fantastic office. I'm excited to chat about, obviously, DataPelago, about the background. How did it all start? So let's start with your background. How did you come up with the idea of DataPelago? What were you doing in your past life? Tell us more about that.
Well, first of all, Ravit, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Right.
This is Rajan. I'm CEO and founder at DataPelago. Before forming DataPelago, it was not like a sudden thing.
Right.
There are some thoughts behind it. In my previous life, we were working on a totally different problem, which is in the infrastructure space,
Okay.
building processors, which enable today's modern cloud infrastructure. So we kind of enable the world of accelerated computing or heterogeneous computing, as we call it, where you have purpose-built hardware or processors to solving different problems, whether it's a
Right.
data movement or security or for storage or networking data path. That's the work led to what we are living with today in today's cloud infrastructure of disaggregated, where you have the storage, compute, and all scaling at a different dimension. So that was my previous life.
You were already working on the future.
We were already we were enabling the future,
Future,
which
right?
is what is
Yes.
enabling for today's world for AI and the data processing.
Right.
And at that point, I realized that we have solved the data movement problem in the cloud. We have solved the storage problem in the cloud, and then now the next frontier will be processing of data. Right?
Very true.
Because that's where the puck is moving up. So I was just going systematically. We have solved the lower level data movement problem, data storage problem. Now the next frontier from engineering point of view is going to be how to process data.
Exactly.
And it turned out that if you look at the data processing, you can put it into two broad buckets. One hill was already taken by neural networks and machine learning and
True.
running inference and training. And we realized that the other part of the data processing was left unattended, which is the processing of the actual data, making it ready for AI or making it ready for applications. So
Right.
then I wanted to apply ourselves, same principles on the world of data. So hence that one thing led to another. And then we said, okay, let's build a company around that. So that's
Okay.
how DataPelago was born.
That's amazing. Tell us about, what different problems are you all solving as well. Tell us a little more about the current state of mind that DataPelago has and what sort of problems you all are solving.
So I think before you want to solve a problem, at least in the when you're building a generational company,
Yeah.
you need to be aware of some macro irreversible trends,
Totally.
which should guide you. Otherwise, you are either off by quarter in some schedule point of view. You may become irrelevant.
Yeah.
And the kind of projects we do takes 18 months or 2 years or something to come out.
So true.
And if it is not supported by some irreversible fundamental trends, you may miss the mark. So in
Really?
our case, that's what I always look for. So in case of DataPelago, one trend we enabled in our previous life, which was that we are in an era of accelerated computing or heterogeneous computing or domain-specific computing, as I
Right.
said, which is you have now processors built for specific applications. And that is also triggered because the Moore's law has flattened, general purpose computing is not keeping up, not doubling the performance every 18 to 24 months.
Right.
So that means that something else has to come, and that's what we enabled in my previous life. Then the second observation was that the data processing itself, if you look at the spend from enterprise or cloud, largest spend happens in data processing.
100%.
I'm sure from your experience you will relate to that.
Yes.
And that has two factors, what we realized. One was the data is growing. The application demands are growing.
Totally.
And it is becoming more chaotic and complex. That means you need a lot more energy to extract value out of the data. The second observation was, which was actually much more profound after we started double clicking on that, is that still the modern applications are still using frameworks designed in the previous era. And those inefficiencies for different hardware, for different data, and different applications, and people are still using that. That manifests itself into a lot of inefficiencies, and people are paying for that. So the
Right.
data is growing, the data processing dollars are growing, and that was the second reason to say that, hey, maybe there is something
That's a
fundamental.
big problem that we need to solve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the third observation was that, I have always lived with the mindset that you can build a disruptive product, but you don't want to disrupt the insertion from user point of view.
Yes,
Right. So that
100%.
means you need to be cognizant of what is the ecosystem it exists, and how do you build a disruptive technology without in disrupting that. Right. So that was the building upon those three irreversible trends.
Yep.
Is what we came up with the clean slate approach to build the foundation layer for the next generation, next era that we're entering into for world of AI and data. And that's what DataPelago is
Yeah.
venturing into.
I love it. I love how you all have found the real gaps in, obviously also again thought about enabling future and making sure where these enterprise leaders kind of feel confident about the spend as well, and the ROI that they would actually get. I'm kind of also curious, and I've heard a lot about, obviously the Nucleus, right? Which is like a universal data processing engine that you all have. Tell us a little bit more about it and how does that work?
Sure. Yeah, happy to do so. I can
Yeah.
speak whole day about that.
I know, right? Because I think the first time when we met, you just told me, like, we spoke for like 5 minutes and exchanged that, and you were like, you told me about it, and I'm like, we need to have an episode on this, just on this. But yeah, just for audience, would you like to tell us a little
Sure.
bit more
I'm
about?
glad, first of all, it stayed with you
Yeah,
and having this
100%.
conversation.
Yeah.
But let me talk about the Nucleus per se,
Yeah.
or what is the universal data processing engine.
Right.
So before I tell you the solution, I think we need to think about what we are handed over with.
Yep.
Right. So on one side, the observation is that if you open up any data cloud infrastructure, you will find CPUs, GPUs, FPGAs, or TPUs or inferentia. So you have a variety of heterogeneous processing elements.
Totally.
It's CPU plus something else.
Yep.
You don't have just CPU only system, right? So that's a new hardware that we are handed in. We are in an era of heterogeneous computing. So that's one reality.
Yep.
The second reality is that the data itself is now no longer structured. It's structured and unstructured data, right?
True.
And third is that there are data silos for various applications.
Yep.
Maybe there is a need to unify them and carry forward the lakehouse architecture, where you have a unified data lake and unified engine for that. So
Totally.
that is the world handed over to us.
Yes.
Now the question is, how do we build a clean slate approach which is able to leverage the modern hardware and process the modern data,
Yes.
while delivering value to the application. So I'm just sharing the thought process, how an engineer's mind works. Then how do I
100%.
come up with the clean slate approach, applying the first principles of accelerated computing, distributed systems, and so on,
Very
to build
important.
this modern. And hence that resulted into what we call a universal data processing engine, runs on any modern hardware, can process any data. And the third piece is that we didn't want to invent a new framework. Like
Exactly.
open source frameworks, like I'm sure, Ravit, Spark or Ray or PyTorch, they take decades
Flink,
or Flink to mature.
Yeah.
Now you can't invent yet another new framework for that to take advantage of your engine.
Right.
So then the third piece is, can your engine power existing software frameworks?
Oh, wow.
Which is what brings the power to enterprises now, that, hey, they can leverage this new technology without any change in application, without changing the environment. That's what the power of Nucleus is.
I think big problem that you solving here is sometimes, enterprise leaders, the developers, the streaming engineers kind of, also kind of feel that, oh, we have to move to a different framework. We have to change the game, right? But here what you're saying is one engine will actually accelerate wherever your framework sits, whatever you are on, right? So that is a huge benefit to obviously the developers, the enterprise leaders out there,
Right.
without changing a lot of things around.
Exactly. The mental model, at least I carry,
Yeah.
is the analogy of cars and engines.
Okay.
Think of like Nucleus is the new God engine for automobiles,
Okay.
which is built for modern, using the modern technology. So that's
Right.
Nucleus.
Yeah.
Now, but consumers don't use engines; they drive cars. So the mental model is that Nucleus is an engine, Now, instead of we building our own car, we go and power turbocharge existing cars.
Oh, wow.
So Spark is one of that car
Yeah.
which runs on Nucleus engine.
Yeah.
It could be Flink, it could be PyTorch, it could be Ray, it could be Trino. All those existing cars which were born in previous era, designed for different hardware and different applications, can be now made current, can be made more relevant
Such
in the
a
modern world. That's
yeah.
what the Nucleus.
I love the analogy, Oren. Thanks for telling us how Nucleus is seen out there and what was the thought process. I'm kind of also curious to learn a little bit about the customers. I know you all work with the larger enterprises out there, and you all have been helping them for years now. And I'm also wanting to learn a little bit about the use cases. How are they kind of benefiting? What are they saying when they are using the product? And yeah, anything around that. I'm okay if you don't want to name part like the customers, but the industries that y'all are impacting, would love to know a little bit.
Sure, happy to do so. I mean, that's what we are born for, to
Right.
help enterprises. So
Yeah.
happy to talk about all the customers you are working with. But let me just first give you an approach also. The
Please.
approach is that, continuing the theme from the previous topic,
Right.
that people don't consume Nucleus directly.
Right.
They consume something we call DataPelago accelerator for X. That X could be Spark, which is what we have today. It could be for Flink. It could be for PyTorch. It could be for Ray. As the product roadmap evolves.
Right.
So our first product is DataPelago accelerator for Spark. And going back to what use cases and what customers, it's a horizontal platform. It's a horizontal technology.
Right.
As a result, it's not limited to any specific sector, not specific vertical, or even to the scale. We have applications, customers running on single node to few nodes to thousands of nodes, and the technology just scale and the value proposition just scales with that. So we are not
That is
limited
amazing.
to that.
Yeah.
The second part is we are not limited to any specific vertical or thing. So we are only limitation is as a startup, where do we start? And how do we systematically touch various verticals, right? So that's the only guiding principle for us. So we are into retail, we are into fintech, into the manufacturing, into telco.
Wow.
These are the 4 or 5 verticals our customers are, and then we are addressing, giving them an order of magnitude performance advantage,
Right.
by reducing their TCO by 40% or 50% in many cases. But most importantly, no change in application. With no change in
Very important.
application, no changing the environment, we meet where they are. We are able to give them both performance and the cost advantage. Right? Generally, if I may add, Ravit, on
Yeah,
that,
please.
enterprises are generally forced to have a trade-off between higher performance or cost. So
Right.
generally, the conventional wisdom is that if you want to get higher performance, you have to pay more for that. But
So
in
true.
our business model is that because you are paying as a consumption of your compute resources,
Right.
and if by making jobs run faster, you end up using less resources, customers should pay less. So we deliver
Oh,
on both
wow.
performance and the TCO advantage at the same time for the enterprise.
And that helps them obviously to get their budgets a little lesser, where the spends a little lesser, right? They don't have to worry about that. Oh, we were spending this much, but now with DataPelago, with Nucleus, our obviously our spends are going down, and we're feeling more confident that we can play around with the budget, right?
Let me tell you something
Yeah.
secret that many CIOs and
See, you're getting it on the Ravit Show, guys.
that they tell us.
Yeah.
Every CIO is under a budget constraint, right? And
Totally.
they all have, what should I say, desire to invest more and more into AI, right?
Exactly.
And they don't have the budgets to do that because, and there is a reason for that also, which we should talk about.
Yes,
What
please.
happens to the AI
Yeah.
initiatives? Why do they remain experiments than a practical thing?
Yep.
But that's a vicious circle there. But before that, what many IT leaders tell us is that, hey, what DataPelago enables them is to help them execute their the futuristic project.
So true.
Because they use DataPelago to save their cost and from the existing budget,
And then you use it
for all the initiatives they want
AI
to do. So
initiatives.
that's what we enable. Not only we help them save cost, but also enable the CIO strategically to use
For the
same
future
dollar
innovations
for the
that they
future
do.
innovation work. That's kind of one part.
Wow.
Now the second part, what I was trying to tell you was that data is very important for AI initiatives as well.
Right.
Because I'm sure I actually want to learn from you because you talk to many leaders and industry experts. What's your view on that? But my limited knowledge talking to many customers is that they want to do AI, but they are building on top of existing fragile data ecosystem, which were
Totally.
designed for different world.
Yes.
Now, DataPelago Universal Data Processing Engine or Nucleus approach, once it unifies the data, once it lets you run faster and efficiently on modern hardware, it enables to feed the data, the domain-specific data for the AI workloads as well. So one hook, as I said, is to help CIOs handle their budget and free up for those AI initiatives.
Right.
More strategically, our platform allows them to make more success in the AI initiatives because now they can feed the data at the rate that the AI training or the inference workloads need. Even for agentic AI, the foundation for that is the data, and we provide that data foundation layer for those modern workloads as well, while saving cost in the existing applications.
That's
Your thoughts on that, Ravit?
I feel you've mentioned a very important point here, which is I talk to a lot of enterprise leaders, and then the first thing that they always say is like 100%. They want to focus more on AI initiatives, and way less would, obviously say the budget constraint things and how they kind of, obviously go out. And if Data Pelago is actually doing that job, phenomenal. I'm pretty sure you all will have 10 more CIOs sitting there and, coming to you and saying that, okay, how do we kind of, obviously save the cost that we are kind of overspending and add it into a different initiative. But the very important point when we kind of think about AI, the first thing that, obviously every leader that I talk to is they're like, Ravit, what do you think? How do we make our AI project successful? It's just the data. Unless and until we have the right data, the right ecosystem, that the data is clean, governed, the guardrails are in place, and it's unified, we can't go to this next step, which is AI, and we can't make those projects successful. And that is one of the reasons why do we read reports like from MIT which says like, oh, 95% of the projects in AI actually fail.
Right.
Is because the problem is at the first step. Once these enterprise leaders, obviously fix that, and they know it very well, and we've been solving this problem for years, and now there are, obviously tools like Data Pelago, there are other tools that have come into the game who are wanting to support this journey of data to AI.
Exactly.
And you all are doing it pretty well. So that's
And I just want to underline something you just
yeah.
mentioned. That is the first mile problem that DataPelago is solving. Like
Okay,
how do
nice.
we enable the first mile problem for AI is the data. Right? That's what DataPelago enables to sell
Okay,
it,
great.
to solve it, and to so that the AI initiatives are more successful.
Nice,
And
nice.
the reason over there is what observation is that you first have some AI initiative, but it is running on an older data or older platform that does not translate into the value of the AI that you wanted to see, and as a result, the budgets get cut. So
Totally.
it's kind of it's a loop people are in, but unless you
Exactly.
fundamentally break that loop by providing the domain-specific data, the clean data at the rate, at the speed, at the economics that the AI initiatives need,
Totally.
you will never be able to break that cycle. And that 100% agree with the MIT report that why 95%
Of the projects fail.
because they are not solving the first mile problem.
First mile.
They're all running about the newer models or newer applications,
So
the newer
true.
agents.
So true.
But unless you solve the foundation, you cannot build the skyscrapers on that.
This is music to my ears because I talk to enterprise leaders, and this is the problem that they speak about, and sometimes I don't hear it from the solution providers. But obviously, if a leader like yourself who can, obviously because you also talk to so many enterprises and you get to hear all the problems, and this is also one of the journey y'all are on. So that makes it super interesting. Just staying on the topic itself of AI, because we all know the world is changing and evolving very quickly. I won't even ask you something which is 1 or 2 years apart, but in the next 6 months, how do you see the space moving? How is Data Pelago ready for that? Can you share a little bit about that, like the AI piece? Can you share a little bit about
Absolutely. I think one is that I cannot obviously, I will actually love to be on your show
Yeah.
when we launch our next product. That will be maybe let's do a promise to meet again.
Oh, let's do it.
When
Yeah.
we launch our, but
Yeah.
we are building our next generation technology, which will enable the agentic AI or the enabling of deployment or the development of agents building on the data. So how do we keep the agents more and more fulfilled or
Right.
satisfied with the demand of the data is something that we are working on. But
sure.
having said so, but fundamentally, the foundational technology that we build, the foundation we are going to provide built on Nucleus is fundamentally to enable that. In the world of AI, we believe that you can't have a band-aid solution. You can't have a single tool or a single library to say that now that you've fixed the data thing. It is because ingrained over many, many decades that you
Right.
need to provide an infrastructure level foundation
So
layer
true.
for the modern world. So that's what systematically we are providing. But
Mm.
we will have to have some products to which will manifest itself using the power of Nucleus for
Yep.
enabling this modern initiative, either for the agentic AI or your processing data for classic analytics or ETL or engineering workloads, but also for the modern AI
Oh, I
applications.
would
That's
love
what the
to.
roadmap that we will
Yeah,
build.
no, I would love to see that for sure in and obviously be part of that launch party for sure. So stay tuned for that one, everyone. We'll make sure to obviously swing by. I obviously also wanted to, you know, chat with more of the users as well that Data Pelago has, the customers, the maybe the community. What do you think? Should we also will we be able to do that too, Rajan? Do you think the team can put that across as well? So I would want to obviously get, because I know that's a separate conversation totally. We've just scratched the surface right now in terms of how users are kind of benefiting, but I know if there's a CI or there's a partner who's kind of coming in, they'll give us the in-depth understanding and different use cases internally that they have in the consumers, how they kind of utilizing Data Pelago.
Actually, that's an excellent idea, Ravit.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say whenever a new startup or a new technology makes some bold claims, nothing speaks better than a customer's viewpoint.
Totally.
So I think that's an excellent idea. Why don't we do this following that we can have some of our customers or partners come in on your show. We
Let's
can
do that.
invite them and then have hear from them why they are excited about using Data
It's
Pelago.
on record. We're going to do that now for
Okay,
sure.
that's a date. Yes.
Yes. Thank you for committing for this one. I'll just stay tuned because, to be honest, that gives us more confidence and more in depth understanding as well. So I'm all set for that. One last question for you, Rajan, is about the leaders, because you talk to a lot of leaders. What advice do you have for them when they're kind of thinking about universal engine analytics engine or universal or obviously the frameworks that you explained, and then also about making AI projects successful? What would be your advice to them?
I think one advice is that there is no shortcut here, right?
Nothing.
There is no shortcut. You would have to systematically upgrade your data infrastructure for the modern world.
Mm-hmm.
Data Pelago's contribution to that is that we allow customers, enterprises to do so without disrupting their current applications, current ecosystem, current workloads. So that's what this car and the engine analogy I gave you works really well in that people are already driving cars. They can't just stop it and jump in a new train or new car. And we provide behind the scene engine to make those cars run efficiently, while systematically this Nucleus or the universal data processing engine builds the foundation where you are collapsing data silos. You are able to take advantage of the modern hardware which is available in all the cloud. You're paying for it but you're not using for that. You're able to process, say, all the data, not just small fraction of the data, on all the data, whether it's a tabular data or multimodal data for your applications. So we are building that foundation to take advantage of modern data, all of it, take advantage of modern hardware and break all the silos that you have in the
Love
data
it.
foundation.
Yep.
And that enables systematically to give the value to the users, enterprises. So that's I think it's an hybrid approach, practical approach. You need to kind of change the foundation, but in a way that it is not disrupting the ecosystem. And that's what Data Pelago approach and the technology enables
I
enterprises to
love
do
it.
so.
I love it. Rajan, you've explained and obviously shared everything in so much detail. I can't wait to obviously get this out to my audience, but I'm pretty sure they would have a lot of questions for you and Data Pelago as well. So if they want to reach out, which is the best place? I think website is like the best place, and they can follow you on LinkedIn or X.
Absolutely. I mean, there are many ways. Of
Yep.
course, they can come to our website, datapelago.ai.
Right.
They can find us on LinkedIn. We have contact us on our call to action on our
Okay.
website. They can
Easy
reach
to
out
reach
through
out.
that.
Yeah.
And there are many ways to. I think in today's modern world, it's not easy. It's
And
difficult to find how to reach us out.
and the content as well, because I know you all kind of push out a lot of content, blogs, ebooks, white papers, so they can always have a look at it and learn more about
Absolutely, yes.
different use cases too.
That's correct. I mean, yeah, we are busy building product, but we also
Try to
try to
put
spend
out content as much as
well.
possible.
Absolutely correct.
But
Yes.
this was great. Thanks for inviting us to this beautiful office here in Mountain View. We'll keep the conversation going. I know the next time I'm gonna be chatting with some of the customers, some of the partners, and learning more in depth about the practical use cases. But at the same time, I'm waiting for that launch party.
Absolutely.
So thank
Well,
you
look
very
forward
much.
to it, sir.
It is such a pleasure having you on the show.
Well, Ravit, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure, and look forward to many more of these sessions.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.